Hey guys, welcome back. Tisha here, back for another Love and Marriage Huntsville recap. This is season 10, episode 5, Nell to the No. I'm sorry that this is just coming up. I was out of town. I'm just getting back, and I said, let me jump on and at least knock this one out. My thoughts on this overall episode is it was okay, but I found myself feeling like we're talking about some of the same things over and over again, and I want to see what's next. But let's go ahead and jump into it. We begin the episode with Nell showing up at Lance's home. She has a few groceries with her, and she wants to check in on him and how he's doing mentally. I did not know that Lance at this time was a single parent for this latest child. I don't know if she's calling him that because he's parenting without the mother completely, or if she's saying that because he has custody of the child, or if she's saying that because it's a 50-50 situation. We don't really know. Either way, once he had this child, at some point in the beginning to get some help, he was staying with his mother and father at their home. But now he is back at his own home and it's all on him. I get that this is a moment to highlight single fathers of the world, and I'm all for it. My confusion is, Lance, this is your third child? How is it that in this conversation with your mom, you're talking about all these things like bottle feedings and teething and whatever else, as if this is the first time that you've experienced it? It's very much giving so to me that your wife previously made the sacrifices and you didn't. But that's my opinion. You guys tell me yours. So he's like, I'm drained. I'm making a lot of sacrifices here, waking up and doing all these things, and then having to handle a business. Like, being a parent and running my own construction business is a lot. As I said, I like that they're showing this side of it, but I feel like there's some things that they're leaving out. Where is the baby's mother? How do we end up here? Like, it kept on being a reoccurring thing that I was thinking of as I saw Lance on my screen. So now offers to make it a little bit easier for him by keeping the baby 2 nights out of the week. Now, Lance is all for it, but he's concerned about how his child will respond because she's always up under him. She's accustomed to him. Without speaking to Nell, without speaking to her husband, Nell decides that what she'll do instead is she'll stay at Lance's 2 nights a week. Ma'am, very nice offer. But I think that she should talk to her husband first. Lance is in his 30s. A night here and there to give your children relief is very sweet. It's very kind. It's a nice offer. But don't come back later on and complain like you did in previous seasons about how much you're doing for your kids and how tired you are because you're always having to do things for your kids. It's like part of Nell in some ways needs to be needed. And I'm not knocking her for wanting to help be there for her son and for her grandkid. Because like when I first had my baby, my mother stayed with me for almost 2 months to make sure that I was adjusting well and that she could help me in between feedings and things of that nature because it was my first child and I was scared. It's very much so a thing with families, especially non-American families, that the mom of the daughter will come and reside in the home to help the transition be easier. So I get that aspect of it, but I also understand, because a prime example is my cousin who just recently had a baby, and it was known that she wanted her mother to stay with her for a little while. My aunt had already talked to my uncle about that whole situation, and they came to an agreement amongst themselves about what that would look like. I would think that as a couple, this is something that you should do. But y'all tell me what you think, especially if you're married. Let me know if you are currently married or have been married, if this is something that you feel like Nell should have spoken with her husband about. So Lance would appreciate it, but he's like, look, I know you're going to have to clear this with dad first. Nell starts talking about being grown and being married for 30 years and how 2 nights shouldn't be a lot, especially after all they've survived with their financial struggles and with things like infidelity. And when she brought up infidelity, I was like, I wonder how often Nell pulls the infidelity card when she's in a disagreement with him, because I didn't see why it needed to be said here. I don't see what it had to do with anything, but I do kind of get that she's saying, like, look, we've been through a whole bunch of stuff. 2 nights isn't going to be a big deal, but it's obvious later on that it's going to be a big deal to him. After, to Chris, after they talk about it, the subject of Destiny comes up. Nell lets Lance know that Destiny called her and let her know that she felt a way about not being told about Chris's baby, not Chris's baby, Lance's baby. Sorry, y'all, wrong kid. Lance's baby. And Nell claims that she told Destiny she doesn't owe her ish. Now, Nell, I don't believe that you spoke to Destiny like that. I don't believe that you said to Destiny multiple times you don't owe her ish. And it's not because I think Nell is afraid of Destiny. It's just because it seems like Nell tries to be calmer at first when she has certain conversations with these ladies, and then when they turn up, that's when she turns up. So I don't believe that she came like that across to Destiny. Nell says, as far as she's concerned, it wasn't needed. Like, she didn't have to explain anything to Destiny because Destiny was flirting with her godson. Lance, to me, kind of contradicts himself, because 1 minute he admits that he owes her a conversation, then the next he's like, she's the one who said that she's dating, and she's the one who said that, it was just casual with me and her. And I feel like she played in my face. Which one is it, Lance? Do you feel like you owed her something or not? In my opinion, I think Lance felt a way about the God brother situation, and some of that might have been because he was doing his own stuff himself. He was bothered by it, but he's trying to act like he wasn't bothered by it, and he wasn't bothered by how she explained their dynamic. Yet I think he was. Y'all tell me what you think. So he says, um, he feels like they should have a conversation. I personally feel like if you all are friends, if you've been friends for so many years, as Destiny later tells us, then you did owe it to her as a friend, out of respect, to let her know your situation. You didn't have to go into details about it, but it shouldn't have been something that she found out via the internet. I think that with my parents, if I recall, when my sister uh when my bonus mom was pregnant, if I recall, my dad did make my mom aware, especially because at some point when it came to like events and things of that nature, she would be seeing, my sister. But then again, when I think about it, that might be a little different because they were actually married. So I don't know. Y'all tell me, do you think that he owed her an explanation? I feel like if they were going out on dates, if they were seeing each other, if they were doing things that friends don't do, that he should have said something. So since we're talking about Lance, let's go ahead and jump to him and Chris. So Chris meets up with Lance at Green Spaces. Lance, you better advertise that business, sir. I saw that hat. I saw that shirt, and I said, yes, if you're going to be up here, if Carlos King, because I don't know if Carlos King is paying him or not, if Carlos King is not paying you, you better make sure you have on your stuff to advertise your business. So he has on his shirt and his hat. And Chris is like, I'm going down to, Green Spaces to talk to my son. So he's asking him about the baby. Part of this conversation has me feeling like Chris is kind of tired of having to support these grown behind children, but we'll get into it. So he lets him know, Lance does, that, his mom came over the other day to check in on him, and she offered to stay at the house. And he's like, I really like it, but I told mom, like, I'm gonna have to talk to you about it first. So Chris makes a face, and I say immediately, Chris is not with this. Chris wants no part of this. He does not want his woman out of that house. And he basically says it. He doesn't want his woman out the house that much. Seems to me like Chris didn't want his son or grandchild there in the first place, especially since he's talking about how them being there was like an earthquake shaking things up. I didn't really like that explanation, but I kind of got what he was saying. Let me get back to my notes. So Chris lets his son know that the new baby that he had is his responsibility and it has affected them. It shouldn't affect them. And that's where the problem comes in for me. I understand that there may be disappointment or something like that in terms of your children having babies, because I'm sure my parents were disappointed when I had my son. Now things have definitely changed, but when they first heard I'm in my last semester of college and here I am pregnant, there was disappointment there. With that being said, it didn't affect their households to me like that. I'm sure there were conversations that were had. I know there were times where my bonus mom stepped in to talk to me because my father was upset and things of that nature. And I'm sure they probably had their little disagreements here and there about the way to handle things, but it shouldn't rock your foundation. An earthquake, if you're telling me an earthquake, I'm thinking that, it's rocking your foundation. Now, if you told me a tremor, I would say, yeah, I can understand there being a little bit of tremor in your household, but an earthquake as you're proceeding to bang on his desk and shake up stuff, like Chris, it shouldn't be that bad. But y'all tell me what you think. So he says that they have set boundaries time and time again, and the boundaries are being crossed. They have to figure out how to actually make them work. He cares, but it sounds to me like it's a no go. And that's okay, Chris. You don't have to sit there and act like you're going to contemplate and think about it. You want to say no. So, this ninja, this is when Chris loses me. Chris, I was for you when you were a friend of. I think that y'all becoming main characters is showing a lot of cracks. And with the things that your daughter has recently said about you on her YouTube and the things that she's revealed about you and her stepmother, I'm really side eyeing you. But to top it all off, this ninja suggests for his son Lance to talk to Martell. I had I had I had some of my fam watching it with me, right? And I had to fill them in on something. Some of them watch, some of them don't. So I paused it and everybody was like he says he thinks he should talk to Martell and get his advice as not just a father, but as a businessman. Can y'all see the orange? I said, are you kidding me? Martell isn't really working. He has been doing the same construction project for how many seasons? Working on his builder's license for how many years? And we want to go to Martell, who gets help with his kids that he has off and on from his mama, who always is tired of watching the kids, and from Arion. Because that's the real reason, if you ask me, that he's included her so much, because he can't cook and he needs somebody to cook meals for his kids. Like, let's be clear here. He's the last person to go to. So did production ask you to do this? Did production say we need to have, some more scenes with Martell? So why don't you suggest that Chris go ahead and step in and maybe we'll cut him a couple of checks for his appearances on the show? Like, how did we get to suggesting that Martell come? How? How? I don't understand. And Chris might actually go through with it. Insane. So we go from that to the Scott wives, right? So Tisha is doing the same thing that she's done for every single season, which is complain that her husband works too much. That if it's not black, then it's something else. I feel like if he's really working that much, I'd much rather see that than keep hearing her complain about it. So they're out to do some retail shopping, even though that's not what it is. They're meeting up with Destiny to film a scene. because they don't hang out or talk like that in real life, as evident by Kimmy saying it's been a minute since she's seen Destiny. So Destiny has been busy doing TikTok lives for Madani, her e-commerce business, and she claims that it was good. Like she's selling stuff up there. And that's why she couldn't make Kimmy's dinner. Like, if it's gonna come to going to Kimmy's dinner or making money, she's gonna choose making money every time. I'm not mad at it, Destiny. Get your coin. I hope it really is successful for you and you aren't just talking out the side of your neck. So the subject of Nell saying that Kimmy and Tisha aren't transparent comes up. Kimmy tries to give us the definition of being transparent. Kimberly, because is that her real name? Kimberly. We know what transparency means. You don't. You all love to sit here on this show and act like you are out here volunteering information and you guys aren't. And it's not just the thing with Nell them not volunteering things. None of y'all are. For many, many seasons, majority of what was told to us was because of things that other people put out there. For many, many seasons, we were talking more so about the drama of the Holtz, and now the little sprinkles that we had in between of stuff that was going on with you didn't really show us much. We thought you would, but you really didn't show us a lot, because I think back to the stuff, I think the most that we got out of you guys was all the disagreements with Kiowa. And even then, when Kiowa would try to call y'all out on some stuff, y'all kind of shut that down. Where's Kiowa now? We haven't seen Kiowa be filmed in a minute. I'm just saying, because even at one point, the story was going to be that he was going to help Kiowa and her husband move down so he could be closer to Monster. Excuse me, MJ. Anyways, so as I said last week, none of you all are transparent. So they filled Destiny in about how Tisha was all up in Chris's face with for the NDA comment, doing all like this. And at first, Tisha's like, no, she wasn't. And Kimmy's like, you were. You kind of were. So Tisha says she's just over them talking about kids and marriages. Like, can we do this without talking about kids and marriages? Tisha, please put up a mirror and tell yourself that, as well as your mom, because what you really don't want them to talk about is your kids and your marriages, because we've seen you be okay with doing it to others. Did somebody say the Holtz? But you have a problem when it's done to you. The subject of change behavior comes up. Destiny says that she just had the same conversation with Martell about changing his behavior. The whole live talk comes up, and Tisha wants no parts of it because the name Martell is mentioned. Isn't it interesting how, when things were being done to a member that was previously on this show, and they were serious things like stalking and doxing her and putting out images of her and all those other things, that it wasn't that big of a problem to them. The cast was on mute for the most part. He was a good man, Savannah, because that's what Kimmy said, that Martell was a good guy. Just because he took care of his kids, he was a good guy, right? Isn't it interesting how that subject, she was expected to not only talk around him, but film around him on multiple occasions. But now, when Tisha wants to put her foot down and she wants no part of it, she's allowed to go walk off and act like she's about to purchase some clothes in this store that I really don't think she intends on buying anything in. So Destiny's like, look, all I can do at this point is hold him accountable. I'm not getting in the middle of it. I'm my own person. But Destiny, in a way, you do get in the middle of it, because at the end of the day, even though you sometimes hold him accountable, you still, in your own way, end up being on his side, because you're still meeting with him, you're still filming scenes with him. And I get it, he's your friend, but right is right and wrong is wrong. And sometimes the waters get murky when you condone things. And I'm not saying that she condones everything, because there are times where we saw her call him out on stuff. But how long did you have your foot on his neck when you were calling him out? Was it just for that scene, or did you continue? Y'all tell me what you think. So they jump to Lance, and Destiny says, like, her and Lance still haven't talked. Kimmy's like, still? No. What is there for them to talk about? She says, we ran into each other and he didn't even look at me. Like, he didn't want to have no eye contact. He skirted out of there. Are you surprised? I'm not. He I'm not. So Destiny claims she just wanted him to be honest about the situation. I can understand that. She feels like he started moving weird before the vow renewal with his parents even happened. She says that some of it even was because of Kimmy and her comments about the googly eyes. I don't care about this scene. It's clear to me that they're going to utilize this for Destiny's storyline. Bottom line is Destiny is single. She can look at whomever she wants. She can go out with whoever she wants, and she could do whatever she wants. End scene. So we go to Trish and Nell. I hope that Nell understands that whatever she decides to say to Trish, that it is going to get back to the other ladies, and it more than likely is going to have some twists and turns, followed by a little bit of stank on it, because we've seen how she's switched the narrative for things that happened when it came to the Hulk and her husband and her response. So I can only imagine what she's going to do with this conversation with her and Nell. So they talk about the party that they had, and Tisha having BD energy that she must have got from Destiny, according to Nell. Now they're laughing about it, but understand that more than likely this is going to come up. And I'm going to say that a couple times because it's going to come up. So Nell feels like Tisha did too much. She did. And she didn't appreciate how she had her fingers in Chris's face. I wouldn't either. She doesn't like how Tisha has so much to say about others, but when you bring up her mess, she acts oblivious to it. We've seen this time and time again. That is true. Trish says she doesn't do that to her. She doesn't know what got into Tisha. I wonder why. There's no reason for her to do it to you, really, Trish, because you haven't said anything yet about her husband. And I think the other thing is that when it comes to this situation, I don't think Tisha is trying to go up against you. Like, I don't know, Trish. And it's not just because she work out. Trish looked like she want to fight. And I'm not saying Tisha can't, but there's a reason why that Tisha keep feeling like she could, punk the older lady. But at some point, I don't know what's going to happen with the two of them. I actually would like to see that. Shame on me for saying that, but I'm just being honest. So now that's the toxic side of me, y'all. Forgive me. So now wants boundaries to be in place. For now, she wants to take a step back when it comes to Tisha. So Trish suggests that they talk one-on-one, and I agree that they should. Nell, I also think, as I said, that you better watch Trish, because Trish got a little bit of two-faced in her. Just be careful. So we see Kimmy get a visit from Jaylen at her office. He lets her know, like, look, Ma, I got some great news. I'm not going to be leaving because I got a lucrative job offer that's going to remain in Huntsville. He said, and the kicker is the reason why I got it was partially because of Marceau and Black, because they knew that I was a part of that thing when it started on the ground. So he's like, it's not IT, but it is something that I'm into. It's business and it's logistics. So she said that she's proud of him. He's like, it's really good money. He said, to the point where they gave me a number and I was like, oh, I like that number. He said, but I decided to counter. Good for him. If you can, always counter. I countered years ago for the job that I have now, and I got what I wanted. Always counter. They're either going to say yes or no, and you can go from there, but it don't hurt to counter. So they gave him the number, he gave them the counter, and he got the job. So Kimmy is beyond excited, and she is still trying to push this narrative, like, let's work together. Um, Even if it's just the two of them, I don't really feel like he wants to, because the next thing he's talking about him and Maurice. He lets her know that he did talk to the Scott brothers, and the conversation showed him that Maurice just doesn't get it. I think, because I kept watching and I was like, Jaylen, like, it looks like he has more to say, but he's not saying it. And then I found a part of me being a little bothered that I felt like he wasn't expressing himself. But when he said this, I said, Jaylen looked the way that he looked because, in my opinion, he gets that there's really no point in trying to get Maurice to understand him because he never will. He's not trying to. And he didn't want to waste his energy or time going back and forth with him. Kimmy says like the same thing happens sometimes when she talks to him, that he doesn't like to listen, but she does feel like Maurice's approach did pay off a little. I said, Kimmy, why do you continue to invalidate his feelings? I don't like that. He already said that this man was like a mentor to him. Stop invalidating his feelings that he was too harsh on him. Like it's so aggravating to me because I don't care. We get it. He's older. I'm an older sibling. There are certain expectations as you being the oldest, but there's a difference between you having certain expectations of me and you allowing your son to sit there and not do things that he's capable of doing because you favor him. So Jaylen says the same thing that he said for the past couple of episodes, that it felt like a mentorship. Either way, Kimmy's happy about him staying in Huntsville. I kind of want him to get away from them. I do. Because that conversation with Kimmy took me off all over again. All right, final scene. Tisha and Nell meet up for coffee. Nell's sitting there waiting. Tisha walks in with a whole bunch of hair and a slight leeriness, we'll say that. So Nell lets her know that she didn't like her getting in Chris's face, that she was on 100. She says it in a calm way. Tisha feels like Nell is being aggressive because she didn't do the pleasantries and the small talk. She just jumped right into it. If you haven't figured out by now, I majority of the time am a person that's just going to jump into it. I don't like to do all the small talky talk stuff either. Right? To the point where most of the time, if you're in my close inner circle, when I text you, I'll be like, hey, and just start talking. Or something along those lines. I don't do the whole how you doing, what you doing. No, I'm gonna jump into it. So she's like, she felt like she was on 100. Tisha doesn't feel like she was. Nell says, I don't like the things that Tisha says, I don't like the things that you keep saying about my husband. You said something before. This is the second time that your husband has said something about my husband. He's done it twice. So Nell's like, when? So she's like, well, the first time was before with the whole ATL situation. I don't quite understand what was going on here. If y'all get it, let me know. It was chopped up so weird. I guess that at some point Marceau met up with Chris. Chris was in Atlanta to get some food for his wife, and he ended up staying longer because him and Marceau ran into each other. And at some point, they ate, and Tisha saying that Nell didn't believe that he was with him, so they had to take a picture to prove it. Basically, trying to say that Nell don't trust her husband. So Nell's like, he went to the fish market to get me some food. So they go back and forth about that. And then they go back and forth about taking ownership. And I'm beyond lost. So if I got it wrong, let me know nicely down below. Tisha is acting like Nell is being loud and this is near her children's school and she doesn't want to create a scene and da 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 da. And I don't really think that Nell was being too loud. I think that Tisha is very passive aggressive. She's the queen at it. And at this point, if you're saying something that she doesn't like or that she doesn't want to get into, she's going to walk out. And that's exactly what she did. And that was the end of the episode. That's it. No more. Guys, let me know what you thought about this one. If there's something that I missed that you want to talk about, feel free to put it down below. If there's something that I didn't get, like that whole conversation, because they even showed a flashback with Marceau and Tisha, and I just didn't get what the point of that whole questioning was. It just it's odd to me. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I think that Tisha thinks that she's now going to be that girl because others have left the show. but you're not giving that girl energy. You're going to have to, and let me be clear here. I think Tisha is a beautiful woman. I think that Tisha and her husband have multiple businesses where they can show us that they really are that couple and she really is that girl. But in order to do so, Tisha, you're gonna have to give us a little bit more, as is your husband. Y'all keep being evasive and y'all keep deflecting and y'all keep gaslighting people, isn't gonna work. Now, what's happening is I'm actually finding myself being more fond of Marceau than I am Tisha, and that's weird to me. But let me know what you thought. Please like the video. Y'all showed out. I should have started off saying that. Last week, you all showed out for my Love and Marriage Huntsville video. I requested that you please like the video because it helps. Like, if you don't do anything else, like that video. And I'm requesting the same thing for this one, because when I say that the numbers were numbering and that video alone, I didn't even look at the last count, but I know that video alone, I had gained like 40 followers. And that never happens for my Love and Marriage Huntsville. That normally happens for my sister wife stuff. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Shout out to you guys. I appreciate you. To all of you who are new to the fam, welcome. Go ahead and, look through the channel. I got a little bit of everything up here. And in time, I will be adding some other things, some other shows. I still have to review, and y'all, I'm going to try to have it up today, Heart and Hustle Houston, but I haven't even gotten a chance to watch it yet, as well as the Love After Lockup. I'm 2 episodes behind now on that because I just literally reviewed the first one the other day. So if you didn't catch it, go watch that. Thank y'all so much. On the road to 3,000. Until next time.